Welcome to Barbell's Business and Boobs, where we discuss navigating everyday life as lifters, business owners, and being a woman in a male dominated industry. Christy is fresh back from the Arnold. She made it to finals. It was the craziest prep ever. Was it the hardest prep ever?
Yeah, it was the hardest prep ever. And it's like, you're fresh back from Arnold. I'm like, yeah, I feel so fresh. No, but yeah, it was the craziest prep ever. And you know all about it because I've vented to you so much. Over this prep, it was just so, like, I'm honestly right now just feeling relieved it's over. And I feel like a lot of competitors always feel like that because all the stress build up. But I'm kind of like, okay, it's done, it's over. I feel like, I feel good about it. But I think it's because I had such anxiety going into it that it would be a disaster. But it was like, okay, because I made the finals, which is still better than I've ever done. But it's just been weird, because it's more like on to the next thing now, which is the wedding. But, yeah, it's weird. I made it to the finals, which is great, but a lot of people are kind of like somber towards me right now, like kind of like, oh, like, you didn't podium, it's okay, instead of being like, congrats on making the finals. I'm just like, okay, because I'm at that level now where like, people believe I can do better and I do have the capability to, but behind the scenes, I'm so just glad that I, one, got there, and two, didn't just totally, I
Yeah.
don't know, just not make it at all, like get last or something.
I was so happy you made it to finals because, like I said, I knew most of the stress that went into it. And I asked if it was the hardest prep because looking back, it's like, before nationals, it's like you found yourself in the ER. And it's just one of those things. I
Yeah.
feel like every prep is so different and people don't realize how hard it can be. And I get kind of frustrated sometimes, like where coaches, so, our clients will vent to us. And it's like sometimes I want to sarcastically reply and be like, oh, boo-hoo, like life acted up. It's like,
Right.
but there's no such thing. And I think that the best competitors like you just don't really talk about the negative. The only thing that was going on that you made public was Tootie because, you had to go to the vet and had to deal with all that. But talk about kind of when you started prep, what you were feeling, and then how it kind of shifted and how you still held it together.
Yeah, and like the first thing I want to say too is like, yeah, like I've talked to a lot of other competitors and stuff, life happens. Like I know someone who actually also ended up in ER before this contest, and she ended up third in a different weight class. And stuff was stressful going on in my life for nationals prep, but we're human, and sometimes like things just add up where it's like, I can't turn this to fuel. I can't compartmentalize this. This is affecting my training. And that's just what happened this prep. So, I'm sure there's other people with like way worse things happening to them who really excelled in this prep, but that wasn't me. But go back to Costa Rica. Gary and I go to Costa Rica for his 40th birthday.
When
And
was
that was
that?
it was in January, the very beginning of January, like January
Okay.
1st.
Right when prep
And
started, right?
right. Yeah. So I kind of prepped it like a couple weeks before, like for kind of like getting into it. We had a great trip. I came back and just started prepping, and I just started realizing like, wow, these like weights are really heavy. Sandbags are my weakness. Will I don't have a lot of this equipment. I'm going to have to scramble to make things, buy things, borrow things, all that stuff. So I started doing that. The stress of prep was a little bit higher because it was like RP 10 every session, because I'm trying to build up to a heavy trap bar deadlift because there's a trump weight, and the heavier weight was something that would be really heavy for me. So trying to build up that every week so I can hit that. And it's a max log press. And I came out too hot on my own log, and I wasn't really, it just was not sharp. And then the sandbags, I had never even loaded a 225 sandbag, and that was the last bag of this series. So I had to get better at that and figure out the Husafel sandbag, all those things. The yoke used to hurt my back like crazy, and that is, as you know, the most like fatiguing on your nervous system. But actually, that was like the best thing that happened in prep is I got really good at yoke. So I was like, yay. So the stress of prep, I'm sure everyone else felt that, was very high. If that makes
Mm-hmm.
sense.
Yeah. And when you're constantly fatiguing your central nervous system, like you said, it is a
Yes.
heavy show. It's you find yourself in a hole because you're trying to recover, but you can't. But then it
Mhm.
also, like you said, like then it kind of affects sleep and then anxiety gets high and you have
Mhm.
your clients and your business and just regular life and planning a wedding on top of everything. And I believe we talked, what was it, when you were 3 weeks out?
Yeah, with Aaron. Or no, we talked just together
Yeah.
on the
Yeah,
phone.
we talked. And
Yeah.
I never want to be a bad friend, and it's always in my nature to be like push, push, push. But I was also like,
Right.
hey, like I want you to do this. I understand why you want to do it, but it's also, not the end of the world if you can't do it. But I also know you're like me and you weren't gonna accept putting in all that work to
Well, that
not
was
do
the
it
thing.
the
I'm
last
like,
few
man, I've
weeks.
done all this money, all this, all this time. So prep is hard and it's supposed to be hard. It's the Arnold. And I still saw improvements of leveling up and all that stuff. But I started getting a lot of anxiety. It was funny. We just had the podcast with Erin and I was like, I never have trouble sleeping. I started to have trouble sleeping, not be able to go to sleep. I would lay down and my heart would start to race. And then it would also start happening during training. So I'd be sitting there getting ready for log and my heart rate would just be 170. And I felt like I was on the verge of a panic attack. And I'm like, okay, like, and I started getting nervous. What this happens in contests? I can't pull it together. Like, what's the point? So I'm having all this anxiety. Turns out it's because they'd up my thyroid dose. And so that was the issue, which I didn't find out till later. So I'm having these effects with my body. That's, the mind body connection is very strong. Anxious. I'm already operating on level, instead of like a level like 4 stress, like level 8 training brings it to a 10. It's starting to affect my personal relationships and maybe not so much. That's a little bit more in my head. I'm just very paranoid about, I want my friends to like me, or I don't want to talk back to Gary, during training and stuff like that. So that stresses me out even more. So just feeling like almost like a little bit crazy. And I'm just not, everything kind of like added up, and then the wedding planning and stuff like that, everything kind of like piled up. It might not, of course I'm not going into great detail of all the stuff that, the personal things that happen, but all the things added up where I like I'm like, this is not fun anymore.
Yeah.
And then Tootie broke her leg. And
What,
so
like 9
Tootie,
days out?
it was on Valentine's Day. So
Okay.
March 1st or something was Arnold, February 14th,
So
Valentine's
like 2
Day.
weeks out. Yeah.
And what people need to understand, it's not just a dog breaking a leg that you put like a splint on. Like Tootie has had a progressive disease over the last few years that attack her joints. And that's why she looks like a crab when she walks. She's getting less and less mobile, and she was barely strong enough to keep herself up on 4 legs. So the leg break to me was like, wow, her body is just pretty much almost done and she may never walk again. But we have to try to fix this. It was all stressful, like trying to wait for the doctor appointment to say, oh, she broke her. I thought maybe like one of her like ligaments snapped or something, but her leg broke just by walking on it. And so she gets surgery on the 14th. She's like recovering okay. She's kind of bare weight. But then I do my last training session and I actually had a great day. Like I PR'd my sandbags. Like everything's feeling really good. I loaded the 250 yoke, keg. I'm like, wow, like I got started this prep. Like, although like my strengths, like log, really haven't really gone much. Like I think I matched my old PR 195. At least I got better at sandbags. This forced me to get better at sandbags and yoke. So yeah, but we get home, Tootie's elbow is like super swollen, like crazy, like all of a sudden swollen. And you can see her surgical pin in a new wound, like through her body. And of course, earlier that week, I take her to the vet because I thought something was wrong again. Remember that because I had to cancel a podcast. So it's been a while with the vet. So I take her to the ER, and I think she's acting so weird. I'm like, this is just like the end for Tootie probably. We get there. I train my heaviest session. I go home. I realize it. I go to the ER. This is at 8 p.m. They don't take her until like 11:30 p.m. and they don't take me in until 3:30 a.m. and say, okay, we're going to keep her for the rest of the night. And then tomorrow, there's two more $1,000, on top of the other surgery. So the financial stress is there too. But I'm already spent a ton of money on Arnold with equipment and all Airbnb and stuff like that. So that's stressful. I didn't sleep the whole night again. And I feel like shit because I was sitting in that chair after the strongman day. So my body feels like shit. A lot of those other days, I like barely slept. Because I was so just crying all day about 2D because you see this like poor innocent creature like falling on her face, struggling to walk, right? This is like my baby. Probably won't have a kid.
Yeah, your baby.
This is the closest thing. And she's like so, innocent and cute and just, it's not fair. So she's only 5. People are like, oh, it's an old dog. She's only 5 years old.
Yeah,
so,
she's only 5.
Yeah, so it's just complicated. And it's complicated too, with like, we're kind of in limbo here. So I'm just crying all the time. I'm not sleeping. I'm just all over the place. I have to start my water load. And I'm just like, is Tootie going to be okay? we can't leave her at home with the dog sitter because I have to actually physically bring water to her, bring food to her, take her outside and put her in a little sling and like try a billion times make her go potty. So there's all these things going on. And so we're like, okay, well, we're going to have to take him with Arnold, but like, obviously if she's like about to die or she's still infected, like we can't go there and be like, let's go to an ER in the Ohio. Like it's just not going to work out. So I still don't know. There was definitely times before this happened that I was like, with Tootie, I was like, oh, we might have to quit. And then also me even before that being like, this isn't fun. Like I'm just feel like an awful person and I just want to quit. Like, you're like, is it better to quit or is it worse to quit at this point? Because we're so invested in it, like it was just really complicated and it was hard to, I was always all in on my training, but it just felt so different. I felt like I wasn't preparing to win. I was preparing just to like survive. And, you never want that, especially your like pro debut. Like I just won nationals. But it was just all these like compounding things. And it might be harder for someone to understand who is really in their like whatever it takes era. Like, like I ended up like going like, being super natty for this one too, because I was like, my mental state can't handle anything right now. Going back and forth on those decisions, like everything was just kind of all over the place rather than all in, which I needed to be. Like this contest was hard with the weights and the competition was really fierce. And I do know now that if I was all in and healthy, I would be able to like, podium or at least get closer to podium. But I was just kind of scared I'd show up there and just be like, feel that same way that sometimes I felt during the prep with like the heart racing with the thyroid, like the anxiety, just like the not be able to like hang at all just because I could not put it together. And that was really it. It was just kind of miserable. And I'm really relieved it's over because I want to enjoy training and I do enjoy competing. And like I'm sure people saw me like super happy there, but it's honestly just relief that I could have fun in some moments and I wasn't thinking I was going to pass out or die because I was in so much anxiety. So that is where the happiness came from, really was relief. And then the crying at the end was just exhaustion because I'm like, okay, I did this, it's done, let's just go home.
Yeah, that definitely sounds like one of those moments. I was reading a book recently and they called it the cookie jar moment. And I guess they termed it from David Goggins. And this definitely sounds like something that you literally, so you put it in your cookie jar. So when you're reflecting back, Christy, another prep or something, or in another stressful moment, you can look back at this and realize, holy shit, I was going through X, Y, and Z, and I still showed up. And as someone that's a competitive athlete like you are, and like you said, you were riding that high coming from being on the top at nationals, getting the pro card. It's harder sometimes when you have eyes on you and you have people that you want to show up for, like your family, like Gary, like your clients that are all looking up to you, like people that listen to this podcast. I think it's still admirable that you went anyways and you weren't, I knew because I'm one of your close friends what was going on, but no one else except, probably me and Gary and a few close friends probably knew like what was going on. And I know how hard that is. And it's just goes to show you that not every prep is going to be the same thing or even means the same thing. Like you kept saying, like all in mentality. I think you were all in for as much as you could. And now hopefully you can relax, fix your thyroid, work on some of the anxiety and the mental health stuff that does come with a prep that is that difficult. But I hope as the days goes on and you start to feel more emotions that you're proud of yourself, because I don't think you're going to get the post-contest blues. I think you're actually going to be happier as it goes on.
Yeah, that's how I feel. The reason I get post-contest blues, I think, is because I'm just so tired and exhausted. So I have had a little bit of those just from being tired, but I feel, oh, sorry, my dog. I feel, this is Pet, not Tootie. I feel, relieved and happy and still proud of myself. And no matter what, it's cool to be on the main stage in front of people. Like, it's just really fun. It's a moment I'll never forget. And I even turned to my friend and I was like, it reminded me of something people tell people before they walk the aisle, but like, look around, enjoy this moment. Like, this is really cool. Like, because it was kind of hard. I did feel disconnected and numb a lot of the show. Like, I couldn't feel like I'm gonna attack this. It was weird because I did have like really excited, happy moments, but some moments I felt really numb and like nonchalant. So weird. So it it just didn't feel like me. But that's why I was like, okay, this moment I'm going to enjoy. Like, I'm going to attack. I'll leave it all out there. This is like why I do it, to show people what strong women can do. I want people to, people come up to me afterwards, say, oh, you inspired me to do this, or I do your program. I lost 100 pounds. Yay! I want to show them like, um, give them a show like with everyone else. Like, I want to also everyone else to give them a show as well. So that was really fun. But I'm not gonna lie, when I learned I made finals, I was really happy, but I was also like, shit, I gotta like keep putting myself like through this mentally. So it was so weird and complex. But I don't think I'm done competing, but I need to have the fire in me like to do it again, because it was so lukewarm by the time that I got there. I was just like, it was very weird. Performance wise, I did okay. I underperformed really hard on my trap bar deadlift. Although I didn't train on that same trap bar, I know I have at least 10 reps in me, and I only did 4, which made me lose a lot of points. Everything else was great, always in the, top middle or top ish part of the pack. And that's, how I got, final was like 6. But if I hadn't done that, I would have had a better result. Overall, would it make me podium? No. But that was after, log was good, because I was really relieved I have logs. I'd never touched a wooden Slater log, and you remember I was so nervous about that, and it felt so good. Although I hit my chin and my nose, and I messed up my wrist and all that stuff, but I underperformed on that. But I was like, I was scared I was gonna like zero it for some reason. It's the theme of this is lack of confidence. I doubted myself a lot for this whole show, and that's why I'm glad it's over, because I'm like, okay, I have a clean slate. I can actually go back and like be that confident athlete in the events again, because all that was just tainted. So I hit 172, 182, and then I missed 192, which on a good day that goes up really easily. On a bad day, I miss 180 because I split jerk, and if technique's not there. So I was okay with that. And the next was deadlift, and it was the weirdest thing. Now looking at a video, I realized that like I will say everyone had these same. I can't complain too much because it's an even playing field, right? With warm ups, I did 2 singles to warm up for the deadlift, and for me personally, at my old age, I need more than that. But everyone else got the same amount of warm ups. It was we're running behind. It was a very fast show, and I'm sure you heard, all the drama. Middleweights weren't as affected as the heavyweights, but it was very like we waited all day, and then we started, and then we like went really fast. But I do realize where I messed up was just not readjusting myself after I put the bar down. The weight was too far in front of me, and then I couldn't use my legs to pick it up. So there's that. Yoke, I did good. I finished. That was actually what I finished the highest in, but they also made the course shorter. It was supposed to be 60 feet. They made it 30 feet, so it's hard to accelerate. And also that's not going to divide people up as much as that's why I was like really good at like the long duration with the heavy yoke, and I was excited about that, but still worked out. Although I put the yoke on my ponytail on the way back, so it was slippy. I'm pissed about that. I'm like, I'll wear it by next time. And then the sandbag mentally, they changed it as well. But I crushed that, which is a big win for me, because that used to be a weakness, and at least that keeps me in the top middle of the pack. When I look at it, I think I could have gone faster. Just by like not picking up, holding it, and then loading it, just like, popping it over. But it's because I didn't have that much confidence there to execute like a little bit more aggressively. So yeah, that was day 1. And day 2, we're supposed to have to do a hoist lift, which I trained really hard for, but they changed it to an axle clean and press. It was 175 for reps. Traditionally would be good for me because I can do 205 for 3, but it was on, have you used the tires before with the axle?
Yeah, a couple times. It
It
definitely,
was
you
so
can't,
hard. I
girl.
killed
Yeah.
175 in the back room, just like boop. I went out there, I cleaned it. It was like felt crazy, and I couldn't press it. And then I had to clean it again. I pressed it once, and then instead of recycling it, I just put it back down because I was like, this is just so weird. And then I cleaned it and couldn't press it again. So I only got 1 rep. So
And your wrists hurt now.
that and the person that was right above me zeroed it, but it was still 1 rep wasn't enough points to like get ahead on her. So, and then the max keg load was next, and a lot of us finished at 250. And my 250 was very easy. I'm very proud of it, but 275 did not go over. So finals really didn't change anything for me, unfortunately, although I think, I'm like, looking at it, like, I'm like, I did pretty good. Like, maybe I could go up a place, but it just didn't work out like that with the points. So yeah, really, I'm okay with everything I did besides the deadlift. That's what made me lose one spot, maybe two spots.
Mm-hmm.
But I survived and I'm so happy. And it sounds really bad. I'm sure maybe some really crazy competitors will listen to this, like, thinks I'm a pussy. I don't
No.
care. Just think about all the competitors who compete a lot, like the pro guys or girls, and how so many shows don't go their way and so many shows do. And like, we forget. You're just like, all right, it's just
Yeah.
how it is. You win or you lose. I mean, but I'm just very excited it's over and I'll be able to start fresh next time.
Yeah. It's hard to repeatedly do that over and over, especially when you're dealing with all that. But no, I'm proud of you. I'm glad that you still were able, you said you felt a little bit of a disconnect when you were competing, but like you said, you were still able to enjoy the moment, look out at the crowd, because like I said, that cookie jar, like one day you're going to look back and be like, wow, I did that with all that going on. So that's pretty career defining moment. So kind of I know you have the wedding. Are you taking some time off of events? Is that going to look like?
Yeah, it's funny because now I don't want to. Well, I did because like all my workouts were taking so long, like all the
Mhm.
sandbags, all the this, all the that. But now I wish I want to do events again because am like, oh man, I want to do this, this, this. But I'm gonna do more of a bodybuilding like hypertrophy block. Just give myself some chance to chill. My body's obviously stressed and no pressure, just so I can feel good for the wedding. And then after the honeymoon, then I'll just start training so that'll be like in June, training more strength. I'm still gonna be training strength. I'm still like I have strength goals for like push press. On a push press 225. I need to get my deadlift up. I have goals like strength goals. So when I say bodybuilding, I don't really mean bodybuilding. I mean more like, for a few weeks I'll be doing sets of 20. But so I am just excited, it's hard. It's always hard to step away from like totally like you feel like everyone's getting ahead of you and you see how strong everyone is. But I know that part of the process is to go just back into a regular hypertrophy phase, strength phase. And I would love to do America's Strongest Woman, 73 kg, once they announce like when it is, and hopefully it lines up with my schedule. But I think it'd be really fun because they're usually a smaller show, but like still like lots of prize money, fun events,
Yeah.
good coverage. And I'm sure that all the girls that I just competed with, a lot of them would go there too. So it would definitely be fun to have a rematch.
Yeah, and I think you forgot to mention that even with such a heavy show, you didn't have any back problems. I know you said your wrists and stuff
Yeah.
hurt,
Oh
but
my
like
God.
the fact, yeah, that's a huge win
Yeah.
that you
And I feel
forgot
fine.
about.
I trained yesterday. I feel my body feels fine. I'm just tired mentally, which is crazy. I mean, I definitely felt wrecked after day one and, right after day two, and we drove home 8 hours. But I'm like, I feel good now. Like the neck's a little tight. But that's a huge win. I can definitely say that is done. So yeah, I'm very excited about that.
But I'm proud of
That
you, and
saga is
just
over.
yeah, and I hope anyone that listens to this just realizes that as you advance as a seasoned competitor, shows like this are going to happen. So yeah, so we'll check back in a few weeks with how you're feeling, but so proud of you and
Thank you.
excited to see. I haven't seen all the event footage, but I'm sure you'll by the time.
I'll
Well, hopefully
post.
we
Yes.
post this episode soon, and then I can see all the
Yes.
events. So
Yeah. All
awesome. All
right.
right, we'll pass this episode on to anyone that has had a hard prep or might not want to go
Yeah.
forward.
Bye.